Hi folks, hi YouTube. I'm chatting with Sam, and we're just talking about some creative projects I've got going on. And the thing I was just describing to Sam is that every single creative project I've ever done goes through the following process. I start with what I think it's going to be, and then I am wrong. I start working on it, and very quickly the thing itself tells me, Sean, I'm actually this, right? You think you're writing this story, you're actually writing this story. And the thing I've learned over time is that the more time I spend fighting, literally, the way you create writer's block is by fighting that instinct.
Mm,
When the work tells you it's a different thing than the thing you set out to write, and you dig in your heels and say no, that's where writer's block comes from. So don't do that, right?
mm, mm,
Let the thing be what it wants to be. And if anything, the thing you want to get really good at, and the thing I've gotten better and better at over time, is as soon as the thing starts talking to you and saying, I am this, pivot immediately, right? Like Sam and I were just talking about how this project I had, he was saying like, oh, so are you like almost done with the first draft? I'm like, no, dude, I'm like technically on draft three because I got halfway through drafts one and two and already knew they were wrong. So I'm like, well, I don't need to finish this draft to figure that out. I already know,
mm.
right? At least now there are exceptions to that. There's nuances to that, right? I actually, it's funny enough, the thing I thought we were going to talk about for this little snippet, Sam, relates to your book because there are things now where like I could stop and fiddle with them. But in this case, and partially it's because of the length, right? Like we're talking about a book versus, like a 5-page PDF here. With something of this size, the the parts form the whole, and then the whole forms the parts. But with
Mm,
a shorter project like the other one, my personal project, I can see the whole a lot faster.
mm.
I don't need to get that deep into the project to see the whole.
Because your halfway point is a lot sooner,
Yes.
so yeah, so absolutely you're gonna see it faster. As you're explaining that, what came to me is, you know, a tip that I usually give in meditation. A lot of times they people teach meditation and they say, let go of the thoughts. And then so when people go into meditation, all they're trying to do is they spend most of their time fighting letting go of the thoughts. And all their energy and focus goes into letting go of the thoughts. But the tip that I usually give is don't resist it. Like you were saying, like you got the intuitive hit halfway through the writing to say like, no, this is not it. This is what it is. I can see it clearly. I feel it. I know it. So let's pivot. If you would have been resisting it and fighting it, you would have finished the whole thing to get to the end to then finally realize like, oh shit, this is not it. Let me now start all over again. And oftentimes that causes more confusion because you're like, is the whole shit bad? Or is it like, what? Like, this is just not feeling right because you resist it. But just like in meditation, when you go into that meditative state, you just focus on being. That's it. And whatever it is, whatever those thoughts are happening, just observe them. Just observe them. And then when you get that intuitive pull, let's dive a little deeper here. There's something for you here. That's when you allow your consciousness to navigate into that. All right, what are you trying to teach me? And so in this case, your creation is the PDF that you're putting together. And so like you're halfway through, and now that creation is telling you like, no, no, no. This is not it.
Yeah.
This is not it. This is actually it. And kudos to you to actually honoring that. I mean, you've been writing and doing this for a while, so you already know, like, yeah, I'm not going to resist this because if I do, it's just going to create a block.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and I think this is a really important piece, kind of related actually to what you're saying about like people fighting to ignore the thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Um, is I don't use the delete key almost ever while I'm writing. Well, for like very specific, like it's like if I knew I just like picked the wrong word there and I didn't know the better one, that's fine. But like case in point, with those first two drafts of the project, I didn't delete that work. In fact, what I do these days is one of two things. Depends on the project. Either I'll literally just like label it like old version, right? Like some descriptor of like what was happening in that version, put it at the bottom of the page, start blank slate with the new version above, but all the old material is down here, right? or I just copy it into a separate document and then I have them open side by side. Because invariably what happens is once I'm onto like the true version, right? Like I've gone through the whole process and I know like, okay, this is the thing for real. A lot of stuff, sometimes like 90% of it from the previous drafts actually does have a home in the new version. So I'm just pulling it over and putting it in its appropriate place. But that's a world of difference from, like you were talking about people getting like locked in their head and like delete, trying to throw everything out. It's like, no, 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 it's not about throwing everything out. It's about putting everything in its appropriate place. The parts
Mm.
form the whole, and the whole form the parts. And it's a cycle all the way through. So that's why you don't throw
Which
things away.
makes sense. It makes when you said that, it like I saw the illustration, right? And what I did was I just plugged it in to what it is that we're doing with the book.
Hmm.
However, can you? I mean, I can give you my perspective, but I would
Yeah.
love for you to like go a little bit deeper into that, and to what you just said, like uh, the whole forms the parts, and the parts form the whole. Like, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first half of that statement's fairly obvious, right? I mean, like you have to you can't have a book unless you write enough chapters to have a book, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to start somewhere. Um, and like we're talking about, that can include like your vision, right? Like that can include things that are in your mind but not fully on the page yet. That's more an advanced technique. I wouldn't recommend that for newbies. Now, once, and this is where I've learned from experience that, especially in longer form work, there's enormous danger in trying to stop and solve a problem too soon.
Mm,
Because if I have this part and I know that the part isn't working, then and I try to fix it now, then I am fixing it based on the context of what I have, which is incomplete. I don't have the whole yet. So by definition, my solution to that problem is incomplete. It doesn't have integrity, which is one of my new favorite words, right?
mm.
It is not wholly of itself. I'm having to make assumptions. In fact, really, this is where people really get tripped up. That is when you start working from your insecurities. Because now you're thinking, because you don't have the whole to draw from, to learn from, you're saying, well, I know I have this problem. First off, how do I diagnose the problem? Well, again, I don't really have the context to do that. So I'm just going to fall back to, well, what are the problems with me as a writer, as a creator, right? What are my weaknesses? Are my
Oh
weaknesses
my
bleeding
God.
into this?
This is so good, bro. This is so good on so many levels, right? Because this just reminds me of life in general,
Yes.
right? Because we get caught up in the parts of life and we're like, oh my gosh, it's the end. First of all, it's not the end, right? This too shall pass. And we're forgetting about the bigger picture. But if we actually focus on the bigger picture, in this case, the illustration I'm getting it for the book, if we focus on completing the book with focusing on the parts, once the book is completed, now we can look at the whole with the parts within the whole, and we can say, ah, I see, this actually fits better here, this actually fits
Hmm.
better over here, this is here, oh, you know what, we can add this here and add this here, because now you see the bigger picture. And as you're explaining all this, all I can see is just life
Yeah.
and like as a whole, and oftentimes, like you were explaining, the insecurities that happen, right? So we are, we're trying to make a life decision based upon a quarter of your life, or a third of your
Yeah.
life, or a fourth of your, whatever that may be. Therefore,
Not
bringing
even like a hundredth, a millionth.
that's what I'm saying. And then now bringing in the insecurities.
Yep.
The insecurities for something so small, you're making it this big, making you as a being this small.
Right.
So of course, the insecurities are going to be all over the place at that point. Good stuff,
Yeah.
man. This is so good. I don't know how you guys feel this, but I'm so excited. Like stuff like that, I geek out off all this stuff because it makes sense to me. You know?
Yeah. And the beauty of it too is that once you have the whole to draw from, 99% of the time, the solutions to those problems are patently obvious, right? because you're looking at the whole. It's like, oh, duh, of course. Here's what I need to do back there, right? Easy, done.
Yes.
Versus you sitting and sweating over it and like wrestling with the confusion, right? Of like, well, I don't because you don't have context. You're
Mhm.
guessing. You don't actually know. You're just flinging darts at the wall, right? Um, and I think the kind of bigger meta lesson there is like this is part of the discipline of creation. You have to let go of. Maybe I think discipline is still a word for it, but it goes back to what you're saying about like letting go of thoughts and meditation. If you're fighting it, by definition, you're not letting go.
Hmm.
If you're saying, "Ooh, I shouldn't be thinking that. I'm not supposed to be having thoughts right now." Well, that's you're literally just yanking it back right back down. That is not letting go of thoughts. Letting go is they pass by and there's no relation, right?
They
Nothing out. They
just
just
there. Hmm.
and so I think of it with creative work. I kind of think of it as like holding them in suspension, right? It's like I'm gonna let that just hang in suspension over here. I know where to find it. It'll be there. Let's just move on, right? Leave it
Hmm.
right there. It'll be there for us to fix later. That's okay.
Yeah. And you create that, that's in there.
Yeah.
When it's time to wrap it up and put the bow on it, that's gonna come up. Oh, remember we had to do this, change that, and the solution's already there for you.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, when you stop, now you're stopping your creative flow to like try to plug this hole that doesn't even need plugging.
Yeah.
Like it's okay, just let it be and get it, keep it moving. I remember when we first started in the very beginning, I had sent you one version first. Then I sent you another version. And then before we even got started, I'm like, dude, I don't even know where the hell we started. Like, I don't know. I know. So let's just get going and we'll take it from there. And then we started off with, very conversational. And then chapter one comes back and I'm like, oh, that little bit right there now has me thinking like, oh, this is totally doable. Like, let's do this, right? And then so after that piece, then probably I think by chapter three, the whole thing started to come back into the mindset of like, but what exactly are we taking this? What's going to be the point of the book? Are we losing the point of the book? This sounds very, like you're saying a story versus actually delivering the gold that you want to deliver. Like all this noise. And then I remember sitting in meditation before I got on our call, and then we got on, and then you go, so what are we thinking we're gonna? I said, I'm trusting the process. This is the download that I got. I'm trusting the process. Whatever it is that it's going to be is going to be. I'm not sweating it, and I know it's going to be perfect. And then we just been rocking and rolling since. I'm just again just trusting the process, because the creative process to me, and it's the same thing with life. Even if you have a goal, right? And I've used this for business for many years too. I have a goal. Okay, I want this to be the outcome. This is what I want it to look like. The piece where I'm at right now and what I want it to look like, that's the only parts that I know. Where I'm at now and what I want it to look like. What it looks like in the middle, that's none of my fucking business. I'm just gonna trust the process. That's it. And then you use the word discipline, right? So to me, discipline is a very strong word that I think is used improperly, right? Because
Mm.
I think this, because you try to make discipline as a holistic word. Discipline. Everything discipline. No, discipline to me is making a commitment and an intention to do one thing and stay consistent to that thing, right? So let's just say you want to be disciplined in completing this task of creating this business, or staying disciplined in completing the book. And the other thing that goes with discipline is consistency. I think those are brothers and sisters. Like they're together. And when you make the commitment that you're gonna stay disciplined, then follows consistency. And when those two are together, like you need to stay back and just let it unravel. Showing up is your part. When the
Yeah.
guidance is there, being the hands and feet of that life coming to life. That's your part. But when you get caught up in the, oh no, this, that, this, blah, blah, that's it. Like you called it writer's block, but the truth is, it's creator's block.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens in life. In life, like this is beautiful that we're talking in these terms about creating something, but life is a creation as well, and we're all creating life moment by moment. And like these principles that you're sharing is a lot bigger, at least the way I'm seeing it, than just writing
Mhm.
a book or writing a PDF. So this
Yep.
is why I'm so excited about having this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you challenged discipline there because I agree, and I also, in my mind, discipline. People misunderstand discipline because they're thinking of the wrong connotation, right? Words can have multiple connotations, even if they
Mm,
only have one denotation. So the other connotation of discipline that really, I think for most people is the dominant connotation is punishment, right? Like you can
mm,
discipline a misbehaving child, right? We usually think of that as like timeout or a spanking or whatever. And if that's your definition of discipline towards yourself, I actually think that is like the ultimate losing battle
mm,
because me personally, I don't want to obey a tyrant I don't want to obey someone else who's a tyrant. Why would I listen to myself if I'm a tyrant?
mm.
I'm not going to do that. Trust me. I know I've been there. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, what I mean by discipline, and this is the other connotation that's far more useful and is much more in line with what Sam was just saying, is it's focus.
Mm.
Discipline is the ability to maintain focus. And so if my, I don't even, I really, it starts to tip into intent too, because it's like if I'm,
You took the word right out of here and here,
yep,
man. Because that's what I was gonna say. It's also the focus on your intent.
right,
That's where the discipline comes in, and that's like it's so powerful, man. Like, go ahead. I'm sorry to interject. Go ahead.
right, but absolutely. So as you're humming along, you're writing, oop, you hit a problem. Is your intention to solve that one problem, or is it to complete the whole and get it out into the world? That's my intention. Anytime I create anything, is it ultimately to finish the thing, get in front of other people. That's it. That's the intention. If I let the intention of solving that one problem become bigger than the intention of getting it out into the world, I'm never going to get it out into the world. Because I'm just going to I'm going to drive all my energy into that one problem and lose the forest for the trees, right? And then that's how you get that. I mean, every creative I know has piles and piles and piles of unfinished, unpublished stuff for this reason. And some of that is practice, right? Some of that's, part of the process, but ultimately, like the goal of any creative life ultimately is to build a body of work, and you do that by getting things out and done and in front of other people.
100%. That's exactly right, man.
So on
it's
that note,
it's really good, bro. It's really good. Like just the fact like the other part of like think about I share this with you off the camera, and I'm gonna share something, and it's not supposed. This is not meant to be religious at all.
do you want me to stop the recording or
No,
keep
no, no.
going?
If you're okay with it, I'm okay with
Oh,
it.
go
But
ahead. Yeah.
it's not meant to be religious at all. But the point is, if you believe, if you believe that in the Bible, what was said that we are created in God's image and likeness, right? What is God?
The creator.
The Creator. The Creator. So if we are, then we are creators.
Right.
Now, when they break down in Genesis, creation, I don't recall anything that said that God was like, oh no, let me it was simply let there be light. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's it. There was no like, I think it's messed up. No, it's just it is. Right. And so the same thing with us. Like if we have that understanding and we want to step into that creator mode, right? Because if you're a creator, if you're writing books, if you whatever it is that you're doing, if you're stepping into that role and you're saying like I am a creator, even people that say I'm a content creator, whatever it is, if you are, then truly stand in that role of creator. Truly stand in that. And then tune into that. If I am, and again, maybe there's some people going to listen to this that don't believe in God. If that's you, this is not for you. But I'm just saying, in general, right? if we are made in God's image, right, and likeness, and we are creators, and you say that you are a creator, step into that. It is what it is. That's it. And if you allow yourself to do that and go and unravel and do life this way, you will be mind blown. Because, like you were saying, it's about getting it ready and then sharing it. If you don't share it, it's not observed. If it's not observed, it does not exist. That's it.
Mhm.
Right. And so if you want this stuff to, if you want your stuff to be seen, finish it, wrap it up, boom, and share it. And now once it's observed, it's out there. It's creation. But if you don't put it out there and you're constantly trying to nitpick it and trying to fix it before it gets out there, then it doesn't get observed and therefore it's not shared, therefore it doesn't exist. Because if it's in your cabinet and your file cabinets and wherever the hell that only you think you know it exists, it doesn't exist. Because think about our thoughts. The thoughts. Nobody. This is like our file cabinet of all the shit that we have stored away. Unless we don't get this out of here and manifest it into the world, nobody knows it exists. It's in here.
Mhm.
So like step into that. This is for everybody listening. Step into your trueness, which is a creator, and freaking get your creation out so that others can observe it and it can actually come into life.
Yep.
Yeah.
So while we're here, I can actually offer you a completely secular, for those of you that are not religious, here's a completely secular version of what Sam just said. This is drawn straight from science. Sam, do you know what is from in terms of the laws of physics, what is unique about life?
What is unique about life?
Yeah, like in terms of like matter and energy, there's something that only life can do. Nothing else in the universe can do this. Only life can do this thing. Do you know what it is?
Tell me, enlighten me. Like you got me like in suspense.
So, matter and energy across the universe is constantly moving from entropy or moving to an entropy, meaning it's going from a higher level of organization to a lower level of organization. Uh, planet, like planets break down over time. They basically turn into like cosmic dust. That's what asteroids are. Stars, they go through their whole life cycle where they basically like explode and then peter out. Um, Matter, just raw matter, inorganic matter, is always moving from high organization to low organization. That's entropy. Life is the only thing that decreases entropy. So when a living organism consumes matter, right? Whether that's food, the air we breathe, right? Our the way we like metabolize that and digest it, we're literally turning it into the cells that make up our bodies, which is a higher level of organization than the material we just ate.
In the raw material.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so and I even think this is like, getting a little bit more theoretical, but like I think you can extend this to like the fact that like human beings build things, right? We chop down trees, we dig rocks out of the earth, we take all these things and build them into new structures that are more organized than the raw materials we got. So literally that's what life is. Life is the process of reversing entropy, making more order out of less. In other words, is creation, right? So the most lifelike thing you can do is to create and to create at higher and higher levels.
Mic drop.
Yep.
For those of you that didn't resonate with the spiritual side of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, brother. Like 100%. And I just want to share this one thing too before we jump off is that this stuff that I just shared and then the perspective that you just shared, it doesn't mean that it's I tell everybody the same thing. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's false. It just means that we shared it. Right. Now, what is the determining factor here is you put it to the test. That's it. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Like experiment with life. And I tell everybody that I share anything with, like, doesn't mean that it's true, doesn't mean that it's a lie. All I'm saying is If something about it resonated, give it a try. That's it.
I will sometimes tell people, all right, prove me wrong. If people
I'm
get
more,
testy, I'm like, all right, go ahead, prove
uh,
me wrong.
yeah. I don't test people's ego like that. I humbly,
Only with certain people, to be clear.
yeah. I humbly invite them to put it to the test. That's it. And if you try it and it doesn't work for you, then bring it to me. Like, yo, Sam, like this shit that you said, I tried all of it and none of that shit worked. And then we can have a different discussion because now I'm gonna be curious because I know that everything that I've shared, I've actually put into practice and I've seen the difference in my life 100%. You
Yeah.
walking around as using the terminology that we were using as far as like being a creator, um, let's just say doing books and stuff, right? Books and copywriting and everything. You're a creator, but you're a creator that don't understand it. You're a creator. Do you understand how low vibrational your work is going to be? But when you're a creator, that you know that you're a creator, next level, next level. Everything that you put out there is coming from that energy. Difference. Everything that you see from that point on is coming from a different level, a different perspective, a perspective from a creator, not a perspective for a want to be creator. It's different. It's
Yep.
different. So just sharing, like, embody that true creator that you are, you know?
Yep. Awesome. All right, we got to get back to Sam's book. So see you next time, folks.
Peace.